Hi, good evening everyone. In today's lecture, we will discuss about the relation between the poverty, hunger and the government spending. Today is the day 29 of the Gear Up Mains Answer Writing. And this week we are discussing about the social justice question of the previous year. For the 2 days, the topic is related to the hunger and the poverty and the government policy and what's the issue, the divergence between the hunger and the poverty. Okay, so those who are new here in this program, we are discussing the previous question on daily basis from Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. We are providing you the question in the Telegram group of Edukemy at 11 o'clock, so you can write the answer and submit to the portal. Okay, so let's see what is the question for today. The question is, there is a growing divergence in relationship between the poverty and hunger in India. There is a growing divergence in the relationship between the poverty and hunger in India. The shrinking of social expenditure by the government enforcing the poor to spend more on the non-essential food items, squeezing their food budget. Elucidate means we need to be discuss with this example with data how the hunger and poverty, there is a growing divergence in between both of them, and the government social expenditure spending, how impacting the spending of common people on non-food essential. So this is the main information we need to be discussed here. In the first part of the question, we will address the relation. We will add some of the data related to it, how it is divergence between the poverty and hunger in the last 20-30 years. In the second part, we will address what is the issue related to the lower spending. What is the issue related to the lower spending, like political issue, social issue, economic issue. We will write this in the second part in the body. So we are dividing the question into the three parts: the introduction, body and the conclusion. In the body part, we will write these 2 points. We can start the introduction with the divergence between the poverty and the hunger. From the last 20-30 years, the poverty is decreasing in the country. We can also provide a data here. It's decreasing from the 50% to the 17-18% in the urban area, and in the rural area it's decreased up to 33%. But the hunger level, the incidence of the hunger is increasing in the country. We can also mention about the report of the Global Hunger Index, in which the India is below much of the lower developing country. So we can write this in the introduction. The other way we can address the question, we can write about the spending on the non-essential is increasing by the common people, like on the health, on education, which lead to the poverty and which is promoting the hunger. So the spending on the health of the common people like 66-67% according to WHO of their income. Government spending on education is only 2.5%, where they are not referring the Kasturi Rangan committee report, where it's supporting a 6% spending on the education. The spending on the health is only the 1.5 to 2%. Hi exam wala, welcome. So we are discussing the question related to the previous year. From daily, we are discussing from Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. daily. We are going the subject wise. In this week, we are discussing the social justice. Okay, I hope you are understanding the demand of the question, and we can write the introduction in the multiple way as discussed. Now, let's come to the body part. In body, we are dividing the body part into the multiple parts, like how the poverty and divergence and the hunger are linked. How the poverty and hunger are diverging in time. How they are diverging? Elucidate means you need to be discussed with examples, you need to be discussed with the data. Okay, great ruler, you need to be discussed with the data. So that there is a divergence. The question main demand, there is a divergence relation between the poverty and hunger in India. How we can address this part if we are not mentioning the data? If we are not mentioning some of the recent data related to the poverty and hunger, we cannot show there is a divergence. So to mention our argument, we need to give some solid data related to the poverty and related to the hunger, then only we can address. So let's come to the poverty first. In poverty, specifically in the urban area, if we go 20 years back, in approximately the 1991, 1992, the poverty level in India was 32% in urban area. But now in 2019, 2020, there is only 20% poverty in the urban area in the country. And the same thing happened with the rural area, where the poverty is decreased from the 50% to the 34%. So means in India, the poverty is showing a decline trend, but where the hunger is showing a upward trend. So we can say in India, like the poverty is showing a downward trends, but as per the question, hunger is showing a upward trend. So there is a divergence between the poverty and hunger. If we are making the two lines, one line, this is of the poverty, where we are seeing a downward trends from 1919 to 2023, and this is the line of hunger. This is increasing from 93, means the incidence of hunger is increasing. The incidence because increasing because they are spending on the other foods, they are spending on the health, they are spending on the education is increasing. That's why the incidence of the hunger is increasing. So this is the question main demand. So we need to address this part by giving some of the data. So as we see in the poverty, there is a 32% decrease from 32 to 20% in the urban area and the 50% to the 34% in the rural area in the last 20 years. But if we are coming to the hunger, we can see from the last 20-30 years, the calorie consumption is not increased in the most of the population. जो calorie consumption था, वो एक limit पे ही है. That's not increased in the last 20 years. If we see in the term of wasting, low height for weight, we are second after South Sudan. Even we are the fifth. Even our GDP is increasing continuously. On the basis of PPP, we are on third rank in the GDP. On a real term, we are on the fifth rank in the GDP in the world. But if we see the wasting level of the children with respect to their height, we are the second after the South Sudan. Increase in the hidden hunger, increase in the malnutrition, increase in the micronutrient deficiency in the children is increasing. And according to the Global Hunger Index report recently, India is on the 107 rank. So this is showing a trend where the poverty is decreasing, but the incidence of the hunger is increasing. It's maybe the wasting, it's maybe the stunting, it's maybe the low weight to the height, deficiency in the micronutrients, calorie consumption. These are decreasing. So this is the first part of the answer. You need to be addressed with the data, with the specific examples, with the arguments. So this shows that divergence between the poverty and hunger in India. Okay, now come to the second part where we need to be discuss why there is a low spending on the social indicators like the social indicator health, education. Why there is a low spending by the government? There can be the multiple things. It can be the political factors. There can be economic factors. There can be the social factors. Low accountability of the government. So these are some of the factors where there is a low investment in the education and the health and the low accountability. So we need to be focused on these points in the second part of the question. So now let's discuss one by one what is the political factors. Is there any articles in the Constitution of India which is implementation showing you should implement, you should increase the social spending. So we will see all these things in the later part. So if we are coming to the low social expenditure by the government, so first is the political part. Political parts, it can be divided into multiple parts. The lack of effective law. If we see the social spending, the social expenditure is mentioned into the directive principle of the state policy, DPSP. And the DPSP are not enforceable. DPSP को enforce नहीं किया जा सकता. It's now on the government how much they spend because they are not bound by the law. So the lack of effective law related to the spending on the social expenditure, spending on the social indicators. So there is no specific law which show this is binding to the government to spend on the social expenditure. And these laws are the non-justiciable in the court also. Lower level of allocation means if we see 3% of the GDP on education, even the Bhutan are spending more percentage of the GDP on the education. 1.5% of GDP on health with the population of a country which having the 140 million of population is spending the 1.5% of the GDP on the health. So this is the lower level of spending on the social expenditure, which is increasing the gap between the poverty and hunger. Then the high level of corruption in the bureaucracy, the high level of the corruption in between the different departments of the government, the high level of corruption in the even Food Corporation of India. According to a report, India ranked 85 in the corruption perception index. So it shows the corruption level in the country. So these are the one of the reasons, the political reason, which show the low social expenditure by the government. So if we are coming to the political part, that's a lack of effective law. There is no binding law present for the social expenditure. Low level of allocation on the like health, education. According to the new policy, new education policy, government said that we will spend the 6% of the GDP on the education. But it is not mentioned through which, how they will get this source. Because they are, it was suggested by the Kasturi Rangan committee. You should spend the 6% of GDP on the education, but till now it's not implemented by the government. If we are coming to the second part, the social, what is the social factors which prohibit the government to spend on these social indicators? What is the reason? Lack of intensity based approach. Means we are measuring the poverty but not on the basis of the intensity. If we are covering these number of the people are poor in the country, but how much, kitna depth of poverty ka we are not measuring. As per the multi-dimensional poverty index, there is a higher depth in the poverty, so we need to measure the poverty at the highest intensity level. So this lack of intensity based approach means that our measuring approach are not according to the present condition. We should change our methods of measuring the poverty and hunger. social welfare is not a vision of the government. Like the directive principle of the state policy is not enforceable. It is the government will if they want to spend a much amount of the money. It's the government will of the implementation. It's a social will of the government. So it's completely depend on the center and the state government if they want to spend on the social expenditure and how much percentage of GDP they want to spend. Low accountability of the center and the state governments. They are not accountable for their social expenditure. No outcome based accountability. If we are spending this much amount on the social expenditure and what is the outcome? It is not mentioned anywhere. That lead to the low accountability. Increase in the standard of the lives, increase in the age like 70 years, life expectancy increase hui hai. Literacy rate increased from the 18 to 74 from the independence. So these social indicators which shows that the low level of social expenditure by the central governments. There was a quote a few days back in the newspaper. The subsidies are the fake development. Subsidies are the fake development. This was a beautiful quote in the newspaper, much appreciable. The political parties are providing the subsidies to us. At the time of the election, we will provide the free water, free electricity, 200 units free electricity, free vehicle. But they are not talking about the development done by them in the last 5, 10, 15 years. They are not showing the report cards of the development. They are not showing the report card. I mean, they are not having any accountability. If they are doing their work properly, then these subsidies are not required. That should be spent on the development of the skills instead of giving the free food, instead of giving the like free electricity, free water. So subsidies are the fake developments that show the low accountability of the government. This is a social factor which is the low social expenditure by the government. Now come to the economic factors. Non-implementation. Non-implementation of policy, like we also already discussed about the Kasturi Rangan committee. Spending on education was suggested 6% of GDP, but only the government till now spending at 2.5%. Employment issue, like the most of the employment in the country is from the unorganized sector. People are migrating from the one place to another place and getting the employment. It includes the multiple costs, the cost of rent, the cost of transport. So this is the employment issue which having the economic parts. Replacing the food subsidy. The government is replacing the food subsidies by the direct benefit transfer. They are discussing about the universal basic income, which is further aggravating the hunger because of the market volatility. If I am giving 200 rupee today, but the inflation level in the market is so high, means they are become the more vulnerable. As if I am giving you 500 rupee today, what is the value of the 500 after the 1 year? It will decrease because the inflation is going on in the country. So this is the replacing the food subsidies by the DBT and the UBI is not a solution. We need to be focused on the further strong policy, how we can spend on the social expenditure. If we are spending on the health, means the 66% of the people who are spending their income on the health, according to WHO, the people who are earning the 100 rupee, they are spending the 66 on the health. If our health system is strong, then this spending can be stopped. They can buy the more nutritious food. So this is the economic factors which having show the low spending on the social expenditure. Manoj Tyagi, yes, latest example from the MP and the Rajasthan, yes, from the various states, not about a particular political party. All the parties doing it, even it's BJP, Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, and any other party. They're doing it. Their vision is to win the election. Their vision is to make the government. Their vision is not to make the people skilled. Let's give the skills to the people so they can be the independent. They can work on their own. Let's strong the social infrastructure of education, the infrastructure of the health, the infrastructure of transport. Let's focus on the employment. These things are required. Okay. Then the poor spending on the non-food essentials. जो poor peoples हैं, the गरीब लोग हैं, they are spending much more on the health and education as compared to the rich people. According to a report, 67% of out-of-pocket expenditure. Poor quality of the government hospital, as we see during the COVID, poor quality, even during the recent rain, the Delhi, we can see the Gujarat, Haryana condition, the flood-like situation in this city. The lack of development, it shows the completely lack of development. If we see the cost of traveling is increased by almost 30% in the last 10 years. It increased by 30%. Home, the rent prices increased by 30%. The home prices increased by multiple times. Inflation is now 9%, 10%. Even those commodity price increase which we are using in the daily life. This is the poor people are spending on the non-food essentials. Health, बीमार हो गया तो मुझे tablet चाहिए. The health infrastructure is not good, so I will go to the private hospital and I will spend my money there. That's the non-food essential. कि मुझे खाने के लिए अच्छा चाहिए था, but I spend on the health. My children want a good education, but the level of the government school are very low. So I am moving toward the private school, where the fees is very high. So spending of the poor are increasing on the non-food essential. I want to work, but in my village there is no working opportunity. Then I should go out from my village to the tier 1 city where the rent is increased, where the transportation cost is high. So my earning is become very less. My spending on the non-food essential is increased. And this lead to a divergence between the poverty and hunger. Yes, need to work on the health infrastructure and the skill knowledge. Yes. So this is a completely core demand of the question. We discuss about the introduction. We discuss about the body, how the hunger and poverty are interlinked, how there is a divergence between the poverty and hunger. What are the factors which led to the less spending on the social infrastructure? Either is the political factor, either is the social factor, either it's the economic or the why, and it's also how the poor are spending on the non-food essentials, which further aggravating the divergence between the poverty and hunger. So we can conclude the answer very well. We can give some of the incidents related to it. We need to be focused on the infrastructure. We should need to be focused on the social expenditure. The government should expect the report of the committee, like the Kasturi Rangan committee, so that the spending of the poor people on the non-food essential decreased. If the government is spending on the social expenditure, that should increase, and which lead to the low gap between the poverty and hunger, so that the poverty will also decrease and there is a less hunger into the country. So you can mention this in your conclusion part. So this is done for today. We will discuss again tomorrow at 6 p.m. the new question related to the social justice. Advice to you, please try to break down the question into the multiple parts and then try to address the answer of the each part. Write data, write example, and submit your answer to the Edukemy dashboard. In the master program, you can enroll to this program at free of cost, and you can write your answer. We will evaluate your answer. If we are understanding the demand of the question, our 25 to 30% work is over. Means we need to be right about according to the breakage of the question now. Okay. Even sir, AIMS is not working properly. Yes, if you are taking the date of operation in the AIMS today, you will get a 6 months later on, 1 year later on. This is the condition of the public health infrastructure. Okay, so this is done for today. We will meet tomorrow at 6 p.m. with the new topic, with the new question. Till then, please try to write the answer, read your books, make your notes according to the syllabus, make topic-wise notes. We will meet tomorrow again at 6 p.m. Okay, and tomorrow also there is a current affair class, weekly current affair class we are covering. The class will start at 2:15. The current affair class will start at 2:15. A great ruler कहाँ पे enroll करना है? You can go to the Edukemy website. You will find there a master program. Let me show you. If you are going to the Edukemy website, you can see here, you will go to the courses. In the course section, search about the master course. You will find a master class program for prelims and the mains and 0 rupee cost. You can click this course and you can buy this course at 0 rupee cost. Okay. And you will find here, like we are discussing the society and social justice, you will find a today's question here. There is a growing divergence in the relationship between poverty and hunger. You can submit your answer here after enrolling to the course. Okay. So please try to write the answer, submit your answer so we can evaluate you and you can assess your preparation before the UPSC exam. So we will meet tomorrow at 6 p.m. again with the new topics, and tomorrow is also a current affair class at 2:15 p.m. I am discussing the weekly current affairs every week on Friday at 2:15. So please be ready to attend the class where we are discussing the question related to the current affairs, the hot topics of the current affairs which are relevant for the UPSC examination. We are discussing every week. And also there is a test of current affairs every Saturday at 11 a.m. So you can also attempt the test. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much everyone.